are listening to Inside Voices on WNHHLP 103.5 FM.
Good afternoon and welcome to Inside Voices. My name is Georgia Gover and I am the Director of Hope for New Haven and the co-founder of Circle, both located at 81 Olive Street. And I'm joined today by what I have to say is one of my favorite people in the world. And that is so not to diminish all of the other folks that have joined us. But I just want to welcome to Inside Voices, Bill Okwuosa, the Executive Director of Good Child there in Milford. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you. Thank you, Georgia. Good morning.
Good morning. And Bill, when I invited you into this conversation, one of the things that I wanted to share with folks or have folks get is just your big presence in this space, both literally and figuratively. And how much of a character you are. So I am so looking forward to having this conversation with you
Thank you.
because you are a rarity in early care and education. First and foremost, you are a man. And as folks can see, you are a Black man in this work. And I will share with the audience that there were conversations this legislative session to explore why we didn't have more men in the early care and education space. And so it's going to be really very important, Bill, just to give the audience your perspective and just kind of share really what that study was going to uncover. So welcome again to Inside Voices. So Bill, go ahead.
Georgia, I think I lost you. I couldn't hear your last questions. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Now I can. Yes, we had a little bit of a pause.
That's all right.
Yeah,
So I wanted to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and to tell the audience who you are.
sure. As Georgia stated, my name is Bill Okwuosa. I'm the CEO of Good Child Development Center and Good Child Transitional Center. Good Child Development Center is located in Milford, and Good Child Transitional Center is newly opened as of 2 years ago, located in Orange, Connecticut.
Mhm.
I've been with the companies for going on 9 years now, as we speak.
So talk to us about Good Child. Well, first, more specifically, talk about how you got involved in Good Child Development Center.
So I've earned this nickname, believe it or not. It sounds a little corny, but I try to fend it off. But I've earned this nickname, Kindergarten Cop. Yes, if you've seen the movie before, he's with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's a large man as a teacher in the kindergarten school. I've earned that because I used to be a cop. I used to be in corrections. I'm also, yes, I'm a bodybuilder. I work out, and I'm a big man. So yeah, I have a presence. Good
How old
child.
are you, Bill?
I'm 6'2", and 6'2". That's it. I'm done growing. I used to compete. I was an ex-football player for the Kansas City Chiefs in '91. So yeah, I stand out most places where I go. Um, but in Good Child in Milford, we have 92 slots, and they range from 6 weeks of age, which is infants,
Mhm.
to preschool, which is 6 years of age, depending on your age.
Mhm.
Uh, we have an open concept. If you've been here before, you will see that we are built just for what it is. It's a development center. And I reiterate that quite a bit because a lot of people call some of our child development center daycare centers, although it's a generic term. We use term to push back a little so that we can give the credit to the specialized teachers that we have on board. We have bachelors, we have master's level teachers that really are here because they love to teach, not just to babysit. So, but I came here 9 years ago when they were looking for somebody to replace my predecessor who passed since. She was a good friend. I knew her for about a year or so before she passed. And took on the challenge. I happen to be a sucker for challenges, but
Mhm.
the reason why I really wanted to play a role in this field was because I was still am a licensed therapist.
Mm.
I owned a company that dealt with families from 16 years to elderly, providing them with ICAPS, which is at-home counseling, vice versa, going to their homes and mentoring services. We had over 800 participants throughout Connecticut, but I knew there was a piece missing. I believe in the early intervention, and when I heard about this child development center, I wanted to bring in my multi background, rather. The police is the community, is the security part of it, and
Mhm.
then the counseling is the social and emotional support. So I wanted to make it what uh, what I think it should be, which is a development center, not just places where you can teach kids how to read A, B, C, D. We have to teach them how to behave and cover the whole spectrum. So I've never really worked directly with kids this age. And when I saw that it was an attraction, I thought it was a calling for me.
Mhm.
And I've been here ever since.
So that, we always try to, in Inside Voices, to highlight the background of the people that's doing this work, sort of just like to demystify who's here, but also to challenge the notion that we're doing childcare. But I've never had a guest like you, Bill, or a person like you that was a corrections officer, you're a police officer, you are in security, and then you make a transition into childcare. And I've worked with lots of different folks, Bill, and your journey is very unique. And you kind of shared some of that background with why you made that choice to do it and your connection to this work. And you mentioned the therapeutic aspect of your work, and you started another center specifically to do that. So can you talk a little bit more about that center design and the type of work that you're doing?
Sure. Yeah, I felt, in Milford, we have 92 slots. We have 92 students. But there was not enough, in my opinion, room. There's never going to be enough room to add or to provide avenues for families to bring their kids for evaluations, for whether it's behavioral modification, whether it's autism spectrum, whatever it is, mental health. I thought maybe focusing in Orange, which is a transitional center, gave me the opportunity to have, it's a smaller center, it's not 92, it's just 24. But it just gave me the pleasure to be able to uh, so we have a center that, it's not just focus. We don't discriminate, but it focuses more on using the ABA format, advanced behavior, just to stand out a little bit more, to give the stuff we hear all the time from our social work services consultants that say we need to send A, B, or C to milestones or wherever to get evaluated. I want it to be a one-stop shop. Why not? They can come here. Well, while they're in school, they can get evaluated. While the rest of the students are not going to make them feel that they're different because they're not. But it's been a great addition to the company, and we're really joyed.
And so are there children is the center open to all families, or are you targeting certain children to be in this facility?
No, this is for all. You can come whether you have any diagnosis or not. It's just a more intimate setting and a slightly more therapeutic setting, as well as the one that we're here in Milford. But this is more focused. I want people to know there's a center, a child development center that also focuses on therapeutic services.
Mhm.
But yeah, anyone can come as you are, come as you want. And I encourage that commingling. It doesn't have to be a school for just autism. No, it's a school.
Okay. So, Bill, you mentioned that you're 6'2", and I'm 5'2", and I know how I feel when I am looking up at you. So, can you talk about what you experience as a 6'2" Black man walking into first of all, the world of childcare, early care and education, but even just walking into a facility where you've got little tiny people that are looking up to you, again, literally and figuratively. So explain to me what your experience has been with people just responding to you when you enter into their space.
There's certainly many ways to look at it. The kids just love it. When I'm at the store, the kids see me. I'm wearing. I like to wear colors, obviously. I like pink. That's why I'm wearing pink. I love to wear colors. If I'm wearing a yellow and I'm a big guy and I'm standing out, these kids are looking at me like I'm one of their cartoon characters or something. But they just like they can feel your heart. Actually, I believe in that. I believe that the kids can just tell your goodness, and however you're built. It was a shock. It was a culture shock for the community for sure. 8.5 years ago when I came here, this part of Milford was the school was predominantly white. We had probably a handful of black and brown people at the center. So yeah, it was a shock for them. Me coming in, they thought first of all I was an FBI agent or a cop or a Rexler. They were asking me all kinds of questions, and when they found out that I was the new executive director, they were shocked. I can tell from their faces and their reaction. I like to smile. I like to have a welcoming face, and the best of my ability, so people don't misunderstand me. We're often misunderstood. You're a big black dude, and you're in almost a predominantly white community.
Mhm.
Do you adjust yourself? And how do you adjust yourself without being yourself? I said, I'm going to be who I am. I've always been, people die and deal with you for who you are, not for what your race is or your color, or your creed. I don't care about all that. So I was received with how I felt about it was directly I was received well. And if anybody had a problem with it, they never told me straight up. Which I think they should have or would have, regardless of my size. But if they don't, I take it for what it is. You don't have a problem with me, but even if you did, too bad. I'm staying.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So aside from your size and your race, gender definitely is a big thing in early care and education because this is an industry that is predominantly staffed, managed, operated, owned by women, right? And so from aside from the height and the race, how have you experienced this work just being just male in this industry?
I would say it's tough because we're underrated. And I think the community has the same expectation. I think for what I heard, that when I was appointed prior to me coming, they hired a headhunter, somebody that would from a different company that will find somebody different. And I'm going to say they received the enormity of the application they received was overwhelming. I'm going to just throw out some numbers. They received 100 of them. I'm going to say 98 of them were actually all of them. 99 of them were women, and 90 of them were white women. And when I came up, because they solicited me, they saw my projects on LinkedIn and some of the commercials I made for mental health, they were able to reach me. So when they saw me, they knew who they were expecting, but maybe not as large. But it was more. The challenge actually was, I would say the challenge started when the commissioner, I forgot his name, Wilkinson, I think it was his name. The commissioner before this commissioner, Beth By, was a male, and when I went to some of his agency-wide conferences in Hartford, I was always one of the few men in the audience. I got that look. I got people staring like, what role do you play? I did appreciate the attention, by the way, so keep staring at me. But at times you felt uncomfortable.
You're a mess.
At times you felt uncomfortable because you felt like you were displaced. But I knew what I was getting into. But I wanted to be a part of that change. So I went in there with confidence. I went in there with whatever expectation I saw, I was ready for it anyway. But when I was talking about the OEC, the commissioner, I didn't quite see a lot of. I mean, he was short-lived. He's time of, I think he was just exiting when I came in was 2017.
Mhm.
Uh, but I was expecting more since I saw him as a male. I thought maybe he would maybe echo or encourage that female dominant industry and kind of try to encourage, because he starts, education is all, in my opinion, education changes a lot.
Mhm.
People are set in their ways, and if you don't educate them, they'll follow the same learned behavior. And sometimes it's detrimental, sometimes it's helpful. In this instance, I didn't see a lot of that talk uh, in the centers, and I wasn't, and I didn't think I needed to be, be special because I'm a guy, but nobody really has, even the current commissioner has really, in my opinion, showed that much encouragement for male educators or male staff in the child care center. I mean, it's a little disappointing, really a little disappointing.
So, Bill, I'm gonna follow up on that point because this industry for sure is predominated by women. And I have had experiences of trying to bring men into the space, and it has been challenging. And it's been challenging in particular for how even us as women welcome men in this role and in this space.
Yeah.
So you are the executive director, and you did share the story with me about you hiring, a young man to come and to work. And I imagine that because I've had the same exact experience that you've described to me, and I imagine that that's the experience that's happening in this across other childcare settings. So, do you mind just retelling that experience that you had when you tried to bring a young man into the role as a teacher? Because you're a director, so you're not
Right,
providing direct care to
right.
children. But when you brought on this young man, what was the reaction?
So I'm going to step a little bit backwards so I can have a better storyline to the most recent one. In the past 8.5 years I've been here, I've hired maybe three male teachers, and predominantly for our preschool rooms, which they house 18 kids from 3 years to 6 years of age. Uh, I love all my children. When they see me, they Mr. Bill, they run to me, they hug me. It's the most gracious feeling anyone can have. It also makes you feel good when they look up to you and you're a positive role model for them. And they need some of that. In my opinion, they need a balance. I hired the first person I hired. I got a lot of pushback from the community, even from my families that saw this individual and pushed back right off the bat and said, "Why you have a male in the room?" I, I I really was shocked the first time I thought about it because I've always wanted to have a male teacher that would apply. So it showed the kids the balance. You shouldn't have to be that segregated. It's so disturbing that here we are teaching kids how to look at life, not in one lens but both. You can't just say these are the kind of people I should be around. You should be exposed to everyone, and your parents should be able to educate you on how to live with everyone and get along with them. But those were the ones that were giving my staff a hard time about, being a male. I got a lot of pushback. I mean, unfortunately, the man did not last but 2 weeks. He couldn't handle the pressure. I did everything I could to encourage him to stay, but that didn't last. And I got another one, luckily, and that didn't last. These are two white male teachers, by the way. Not that they made a difference. I wanted the male. If I had a black male, even better, because we need to get them to work. And when they need, since I've been here, I've actually changed racial dynamics at my centers. I've encouraged a lot of other races, blacks, brown people. Now is actually the opposite. I think we have 60% of my families are black and 40% are other. And it doesn't really matter to me. We still serve the same.
But I think that's an important point to highlight, Bill, because I
Right.
think why this is so important. And I do agree with you that there is not enough conversation at the leadership level, at that vision
Yes.
setting level, about how do we diversify as not just early care and education is the only educational system in the United States that is multiracially diversified. But like in terms of gender, and we see this across the board in education that there are not a
Right.
lot of men. But it is important because of what you just said to have Black men and just Black people in this space because what I have experienced in early care and education, I is that depending on who's in leadership and ownership in a center, you are going to see that being reflected in
Absolutely.
your population. So I had the
Absolutely.
exact same experience as you did, Bill. I entered into before Hope for New Haven was my own. I came on board as just a hired director, and it was 99% white. And I literally see the racial demographic shifting to more people of, to more families of color, more specifically Black and Brown families. And I know I can always tell now going into a childcare center who's the director and who's the owner because it's reflected in the population.
Right.
So I want to really lean into that idea that because you were a man of color, you were a
Right.
Black man entering into the space, there were families of color that were now coming into your space because they are seeing somebody that looks like them.
Yes.
That's what's so important about this role. And that's the racial component. I am sad to say that as women, we are the ones that are advancing this exclusionary practice in early care and education as it relates to men.
Yeah.
And I can say I'm guilty because of the experience that I've had in my center where I hired I've hired several males to be in my center, and I have to put additional layers of
Mhm.
support to make families feel comfortable.
Yeah.
There is a man, and I'm not just talking about, again, it cuts across race.
Right.
It's, people are very accepted, I think, in this industry of race, but not so much of gender.
Right.
Right? And and it's built on certain assumptions about men that I don't think it's a really good thing. So can you speak to what you perceive as what some of those assumptions are?
Yeah. Again, we only have, domestically at home, we have blended families. We have family in disarray. You have family that are not. They're all traditional now. That's is the norm to see one dad with another man or one woman or whatever, a single family. All that has become the norm. But it still does not change the need of the child to have both parents as part of his life, whether they live together or not. I think there's always a male and a female influence on a child's life that is positive. So
Mhm.
if they are being deprived of that at home and they have the opportunity to see that at their school, which is their learning center, that should be that's to me that's a gift. I don't see that being really a part of our educational standard in this level that either leadership are not really giving us the attention or the support we need. Maybe because we have not raised it. Maybe, I mean, as long as I've been around, you're the only one that has brought this up. You've done it at the Alliance. This is years and years ago. You brought it up. It was talked about briefly that it became, okay, next. Nobody really pursued it as much as you have. And I'm one of them. I didn't because I kind of fell into that. Okay, well, I'm not gonna say anything.
We're in,
I've
we're
got
in, we're in survival mode, right? We're just trying to get
exactly,
in. So
exactly. So I'm thinking about what's more important, making sure that I still get my funding, making sure that I find another way to be self-sufficient in case we don't, keeping the door wide open. So those are the things I'm prioritizing more than something that is also very important that are not really weighing on me as much. It was weighing on me. Don't get me wrong, but this is good because now we have other people we can talk that can help raise this conversation. Because again, I believe in pool of shared meanings, right? So say how you feel, say what you know that you're passionate about, and let somebody else listen to you with passion and say, what can I do to help you? I've in the past 8, 9 years now, I've never really seen anyone from in the leadership from Hartford to come and say, let me see this, let me encourage some of this female dominated our industry. But also, I'm seeing some men here, and I know that is really, really benefiting some of our students.
Mhm.
And I'm not seeing any outreach to kind of encourage that. I think once that happens, if that happens, it might encourage more people that have the same mindset to apply, and also families who start now to support it. And then maybe it'll become something of the past that is no longer that of a discriminatory process, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, so going, kind of leaning into the general conversation, because I think there are two things I think that's going on. And, I think as women, we constantly have conversations about male-centered, issues without necessarily being inclusive of male voices in those conversations. So I think that there are two, in my perception, my female lens is saying, well, men don't want to come into this field because it is such a low wage profession. And two, that men also don't necessarily see themselves as the caregivers, right? Societally, men are seen as, the one that goes out, he's the hunter, he brings a
Right,
buffet, the woman
right,
cooks up and take care of the kids, right?
right.
So in my perception, I'm thinking that there are those two dynamics that's going on in why we cannot attract men to this profession. And it's really even hard to attract women because, a part of the struggle of the industry is that people are leaving because the wages are so low.
Right.
So do you think, or as a male walking into this space, do you think that those are barriers that prevent men from coming in, or are we as women missing something for why we cannot attract, or even why we can't really have those types of conversations about why there's a dearth of men in early care and education?
I think it's both, but I'm think I'm highly in. I think that's one thing that the women are not seeing, or the community are not seeing in at large is. Uh, I think things are changing about, okay, that's a man's job, that's a woman's job. I use an example. 2 weeks ago, I had a young man from high school. I'm trying not to say so much because I don't have the privilege to get his consent to divulge his whole,
Well,
but I
let's
can,
then share,
no,
but
no, no, I'll give you a general picture.
okay.
I have a high school that I do like a summer um, apprenticeship with. And what they do is they bring students for me and they will shadow for about 6 weeks while they pay them, which is a great initiative for kids from the city. It gives them more money, it gives them the ability, the initiative to want to work. And we happen to be a childcare center that's been a staple here for 56 years now. Uh, she's been bringing students for me. Last year, she brought in 6 girls and 2 boys. I ended up hiring 2 out of those participants at the end of their class. And one of them happens to be a male. I hired him. He was a great addition to the center. He was actually a boy of color. He was really, the kids loved him a lot. Again, I got pushback from the families saying he's not supposed to be. And I've had these conversations. What do you mean he's not supposed to be? I'm one of those. Listen, the customer is not always right. I'm gonna walk up to you if your beliefs are not aligned with mine, and it affects my standards of education. I'm gonna push back. I mean, I hate to lose a family member, but if I lose you, it'll be because you're either not in sync with what we believe in, which is treat people right, and we're not at a faith base, but we emulate standard behavior that people should, you're teaching kids how to love, you're teaching kids how to be a part of the community. So all that is part of our education. This man never, I mean, from what he said, when he gave me a 2 weeks notice after working for about 3 months, I did an exit interview for him. I was lucky enough to do that. And he said, I just don't like the look.
Before you go into his perspective, Bill, I
Right.
want to kind of delve into the statement that that parent made, which is he's not supposed to be here. Is
No,
it that they're saying that from the perspective of, we know it's not about race because they fully embrace you being there.
no,
So so did they dig into, or were you able to kind of flesh out a little bit more by what they mean by he's not supposed to be there? Did
I
you get
did.
an
I
opportunity?
did.
And what was that parent's response when they were kind of explaining his
Right.
rightful place in that center?
Well, her response to me was, well, he's a guy. I said, okay, what's wrong with that? And she looked at me like I was missing something. I'm like, but I need you to tell me. And she said, well, is he gonna watch the music bathroom? I'm like, yeah. It's called observation and supervision. We have to watch the kids everywhere they go. We want to make sure they're fine. So is he gonna help them if they need their underwears pulled up? Yes, that's what he's there for. He's a support for the kids. But she didn't like it. She was angry about it. She says, I'd rather he doesn't. I said, well, ma'am, I can't tell. I've never been told to tell any of my employee. In 30 years, I've been working in administrative services. I've never been told to tell any staff not to do what they're supposed to do. If anything, it's the opposite. It's like, don't do that because it's against our policy. Now, you telling me to tell a staff not to do their job. I said, ma'am, I can't do that. Well, I'm going to have to withdraw my child. I'm sorry that you have to. Unfortunately, I felt sorry for the young man, more than anybody else, because he felt like his dream was stolen away from him. He never recovered from that. He said, I don't think I can do this. You know, he just said he doesn't like the way the parents come in there. They greet the other teacher, who happens to be a female, and when they see him, they ignore him. I'm like, I mean, it's bad. The latest one is this child that just started 2 weeks ago from the same program, and he happens to be a black young man, and he had long hair. He looks great. He will look the way he wanted to. There's no standard. As long as you wear uniforms and respect which your clothing doesn't say anything negative to anyone, we don't care. But these are students, high school students, and he came in and he wanted. One of my directors said, "Oh, so I'm going to use you in the office." And I said, "Why do you want to do that?" He said, "Well, he's the only guy here." I said, "And?" Oh, well, I thought maybe he can help me out, do some office work. He's pretty good with social media. And this person was not by any means trying to belittle this man. He was just thought maybe this young man may be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But contrary to that, he was the opposite. He says, no. And I said, come here for a minute. He met him. And I said, you're here because you want to work in childcare, right? He said, yeah. I said, do you tell me why? He says, I love children. I have siblings and some of them have autism. I'm the oldest, so I like taking care of them. Now, here we go. These are the people we want to hear. We want to hear young men that are motivated to be mentors. We have mentees that are literally waiting for people like him to come over there and pour that love and that guidance on them. And here we are trying to stifle their path. So I said, are you kidding me? No. We got a spot for you. You're not going to stay in the office. You're going right in that room and you're going to be one of the teachers there. And,
Did you get pushback with him being in that room?
I'm sorry?
Did you get pushback with him being in
I
that room?
did. The very first day, within a couple of hours, when families were coming to pick up, one of them saw him right off the bat and said, why is there a guy here? I'm like, oh my God. I've already instructed my teachers that are there to not make a scene, but you always say, they're doing their students, they're doing their student, what do you call that? Learning program, student project. That's what they're here for. If you have any other question, please come talk to Mr. Bell. The person never did, but they made a word to the parent, to the student before they left, and that was degrading. They say you shouldn't be here. So telling someone they shouldn't be there, whether it's at a restaurant, if you're going back into slavery. I'm not trying to change this topic, but I just want you to go back for a minute. Back into slavery, when you tell someone you shouldn't be here, you can't use the bathroom because of your race, you can't do this because of this, you're stigmatized. You have no idea what you've done to this person that will never be eradicated for the rest of their lives. And again, this young man's life was just snatched just by one comment. You shouldn't be here. And that hurt me bad. For you to say you shouldn't be here, what are you trying to say? Now, you can look at any other step away. You can say because he's male, or because he's a black male, or because he's both. Either way, you shouldn't tell someone, at least nowadays, you shouldn't be here. What do you mean I shouldn't be here? So now I haven't seen him since.
I think it's curious and sad, and I'm holding myself accountable as a woman in this world, in this field,
Right.
and in this world, that we oftentimes are the target of exclusion. And we have kept this industry really pure as it relates to gender. And, I think a part of what we have to do, Bill, is to push this narrative. I think so many people are in survival mode that they're just trying to figure out, how do we get money into the field? And I think if I were to speak to like the leadership, I think, and this also feeds into the misogyny of this.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
feel like if we solve the money issue, or we can't have this conversation before we solve the money issue, because you can't really bring men into a profession that's not paying them. And that is misogynistic,
Absolutely.
And I think, for us as women who are, playing in to this, it saddens me. And it also causes me to think about what is lost when we basically exclude men, and more particularly young men.
Yeah.
Industry. And, what do you think is lost when we do that?
Well, we've lost, not only that, we've lost the dynamics of how children should see families. We've encouraged the broken system, which has always been embedded in the child's head, especially if they come from I never want to use the word complete, because even if one parent is at home, the child is complete as long as they have love. But what I'm saying is, in the traditional realm of how we look at families, if the child is yawning, or saying, "I wish I see my dad more often or my mom more often," either because they're displaced for whatever reasons, I'm not going to assume, but whatever reason that has created this two not to be together, and then they come to school. You usually see these kids when they see me, how they speak to me. I mean, I literally tell everyone I have 92 children, because actually more than that now, because we have 24 in Orange. But it's just amazing how they gravitate towards you, because they want the difference. They want to see what they may be yawning or don't have at home. So what we've lost is the family dynamics, for sure, which is what we should be teaching the kids from home. Whether you've come from a broken family or a family that is not what people think it should be, when you're somewhere that you're teaching them this early, which is why it's very important that it's called early child learning, is you start now to embed and correct their mindset. You start now, because when you start it now, you've made a movement. You got to start changing the way to think. It's a mind shift.
And I think it's so interesting that you raised about the mind shift, because we have done so much work to dismantle the certain ideas with play, especially in our dramatic play. I know you've just gone through NIAC accreditation, and I am getting ready to go through NIAC accreditation. And one of the things they talk about is making sure that we have gender neutral things, and we don't cast women in these very gendered specific role, and we don't cast men into these gendered specific roles. And we have to implement that in our play, in our classroom.
That's right.
There is no, when you talk about leadership, this is the National Association of the as National Association for the Education of Young Children. And I have to admit, I work very closely with them. I sit on an advisory board, but we don't even see from that entity. And I don't say we don't see that. We don't see the major push because they do have that as an agenda. But we don't see it being advanced to make sure that it's not just our play that have these different non-stereotyped roles for our dolls and for the toys that we bring to children, that is also reflective in our staff.
Yes. Yes.
And we don't, and I have to say, I don't see it. I really don't see it. And I want to think more of it. So how do you think, Bill, your role, and I'm going to call on you to do work, Bill, and I know you're a busy man, you've got a whole bunch of stuff to do, but how do you think your role and your presence just shift the narrative, or how do you want to see it shift the narrative around, making sure that we are being much more gender inclusive in this space?
Well, I think you already you've started to address the battle, George, about what you're doing now. I think it's all about the voice. Like your show says, inside voices. These are the things we think about. These are the things that you and I talk about. I share my frustrations with you, but I've never been able to make it public. So this is a start, is to let people know there are like-minded people that are thinking about this, but have not been able to say that or have the avenue or the platform to voice their opinion. I would like to take this further. I don't know who listens to your show, but since you're the next mayor of the town, I know everyone does. So, but everyone that does not or that should, I would say people in the office and OEC should listen to these topics. If they don't listen to anything else you say, they should listen to some of our concerns, because this will change it'll change the workforce. It'll change how men should not see this as a very little job for girls. I don't think they're more concerned about how much they get, because now guys don't want to do anything to get paid. They don't care if they have to do what it takes. What it is do other people look at them as if they don't belong where they are? So imagine you're trying to make money and someone is telling you you're not supposed to be here, but I can do the job. I have every ounce in me, physically, emotionally, I can do the job, and you're telling me I can because I'm a male? It's so demeaning. You're taking away from that path. I mean, hopefully these men will end up becoming fathers one day. I was a young father. I changed my kids. I was there I wasn't one of those that didn't wake up because I had to work a double. It has to be my wife that will change their diapers. No, I was there. I was present. I changed the diapers, fed them, bathed them, you name it. I did the whole 9 yards. And there are men that may want to be a part of that growth, seeing a child. I'm even embarrassed to say this, but I've never even thought about a male being an infant room or toddler room, because you have to change them. And why can't they? Why can't they change a baby? Why does it have to be any salacious something going on? Oh, who's going to change them? What do you mean who's going to change them? He can change them. He has hands. I mean, every room in my school has a surveillance camera. Every one of them, except for the bathrooms, obviously. But we didn't put them there to catch men or anyone specifically for any actions. But it's many ways we use this surveillance camera is for teaching purposes, for correction purposes, and also for legalities. Because if anyone accuses you, we have an unbiased speaker that will speak the truth, which is always the camera. They don't take sides.
Bill, what do you think should come first? Because we obviously have at the leadership a lack of conversation around this issue, but the people that are creating the environment that says men don't belong here are families and parents.
Right.
So where do you think the work needs to start? Does it start at leadership, or does it start with the parents to change the narrative?
Well, it's just like any other epidemic we may have. right? You've been dealing with whatever situation you've had your way. And no one will change your mind until someone that's considered themselves an expert will come and tell you to take something to prevent it. When we had COVID, you had your own remedies and all that until Dr. Fauci, who started advising us, made comments, do this and do that, 6 feet distance. Then we had a guide. In this instance, I always think education is key. No pun intended, but pun intended in this. It can never start at home. It will always start from the leadership. There needs to be the one that will say, I'm going to help them because I know what the guys want to hear. They want to hear that they are needed. They want to hear that they are part of the solution. They want to hear that they're part of the unit. And the OEC has to stand up and embrace the ones that are there for house, and also use that platform to encourage the upcoming ones. Give them incentive. I don't care. Listen, the first male to get a job will get $5. I don't care what it is. It's not about the money. It's about changing the mindset. Once families start seeing the abundance of support from the leadership, I guarantee you, it'll become a thing of the past.
Yeah, but I saw parents' reaction during the pandemic to Fauci's guidance and leadership guidance and the massive pushback to even the mask mandates. So I want to push back a little bit on that prescription because in Connecticut, it just feels like as soon as somebody from the top comes in and says, this is what you have to do, then it's just everybody stiffen up and they're like, no, it's not. And I want to do the opposite. We're children in that regard. And it's not to infantilize people, but it really is the nature of its human nature, right? As soon as somebody mandates and orders them to do something, then it's an immediate pushback. So, given how parents reacted when Fauci was given this guidance, do you think it would be an effective approach to then have OEC come in and sort of mandate, these things? I mean, what would you? I'm anticipating that there would be a pushback and a blowback and a reaction to that. You don't see that as a likely outcome?
Oh, I do. Anything you do, there's always going to be a pushback, and it should be. And not everyone thinks the same way. It's just why it's called pull of shared meanings, right? So we're educators. If we made this a curriculum at the centers, parents, we have to find a softer way and a harder way to provide them some of the what they lack educationally. If we start doing little workshops, make it fun. I'm bringing men here to work. I encourage that. I speak highly of them with confidence. You'll be probably a parent will be ashamed to speak loudly and say, I'm opposing this. Maybe they will say, I'm leaving. Good luck. If you want to leave because there's a male staff in your school, when you start seeing multiple of them in other schools, you've run out of places to go. But I think it starts with an incentive. It needs to be men need to feel that they are wanted first. Then the families that they oversee that entrust in them to take care of their child will also understand that because they see that the upper leadership is in support of it. They're encouraging that because if they feel there's something wrong, the first thing they said, I'm going to call the state. I'm sure they probably already called the state and said, this guy has a male in his office. I don't trust him. So if the state sends an investigator for some crap like this, I'm sorry. I'm not saying it's ever happened to me, but if they're supposed to investigate whatever allegation made, the question will be, okay, what is wrong with that? So when they see there's been a lot of support of, I'm going to do something to bash this. The state has been called on me for stupid stuff that I'm like, okay, you want to come see me because I'm a male? Come down. We have a chat. At the end of the day, they leave. Nothing is done. But I think we need a bigger influence. I'm not saying that the families don't need to be nudged a little. They will. That's where we come in with what we send, comments, conversations, and there's still going to be pushback. There's never going to be an equal playing field for everyone.
So, Bill, everything, adults are always motivated by certain things, and you saw opportunities for your expertise as it relates to therapeutic care in this. So you're unique again. You're just extraordinarily unique in this space. So Bill, tell me as a woman and channeling all of the ears of the women in the industry, besides financial incentive, what other types of incentives do you think that needs to occur to attract more male into the field? And what barriers do you see that we have to take down um, to to make sure that there is a glide path for these men to enter in without, any sort of pushback or demoralizing environment?
Well, I don't want to go as far as saying make it a bill. It's not like we're lacking giving jobs to men uh, in the community, but there needs to be some ad. There needs to be some kind of an exposure. There needs to be more. Uh, uh, I would say maybe even the governor has to be a part of that. When you're talking about other things, uh, childcare related, how do you add men to be a part of this? I've never heard. I respect the governor for sure, but I don't think there needs to be more more talk about it. Workshops. People like us, people like me, Reggie, a few other people. I think we have a voice that we really want to. You give us a platform. No one has ever done that, but we can use this as a building block that we can start to join other people to become more of a force. The more we talk about it, however we choose to, whether it's through a newsletter, whether it's a workshop, which I think those are great ideas, whether it's a pamphlet sending stuff. Every holiday, Father's Day, Mother's Day, I treat them all the same. I recognize the men. Believe it or not, we buy them flowers. I remember the last time I bought flowers, people were like, "You buying men flowers?" Yes. Not from me to them. I'm buying for everyone. We're buying it. But don't think, we have a tendency to think more out of, like, grow up. This is all about for one reason and one reason only. You're showing people that you have a heart. So we need to stop being too. I'm very vulnerable. I've come along where my therapeutic background has taught me a lot. The kids I get a lot from them because I always say to them, I learned from you. And they say, I can't teach you anything, Mr. Bill. Yeah, you can. Even just a matter of showing me that I had a stressful day and they give me a hug and say, you'll be okay. That has taught me a lesson of the day. You can't take it home with you. So it's collaborative work.
Yeah. So in the last minute, Bill, just give us your vision, and it has to be a short vision, but give us your vision of where you would, at the end of your tenure, what you would like
I've
the
seen.
look like.
I would say what I would like to have seen, or if I was to, something good would have happened in my life, what would have happened in this field? I would say more men are being hired, more men are being encouraged to be in this field, and more men are being respected, especially Black men, because we are the ones that are the more disadvantaged. And why? As a cop, as a former corrections officer, when I go to the prison system to speak, because I'm a motivational speaker, what do I see? I see mostly Black men and Hispanic men. So, well, so you're robbing them both ways. Their fathers, okay, they did bad, they're being held in custody. Does that mean the other children have to suffer? If we can help them, why not? So we need to do more. I want to see more given to men, more encouragement, more incentive to be a part of the education system. That's what I would like. One of them.
Okay. So finally, if you have folks that are interested in Good Child or Good Child Transitional Center, how would they find you?
You can just go on our website, www.goodchilddevelopmentcenter.com or goodchilddevelopmenttransitionalcenter.com. Go on our website. There's an application, a contact me application. Fill it out. You can always call 203-874-8232 or just stop by.
Say that number again.
203-874-8232.
And Transitional, and where are they both located?
Transitional Center is located on the Post Road, 380 Boston Post Road, right up opposite the new racquetball place, right by next. Yeah, and then Milford is located at 170 Old Point Road in Milford. We take stop-ins. You can walk by. You can't miss the big building. Wide open. Come over. We'll give you a tour. We'll love to.
Okay. And what do you want as a final plug for your center? What do you want families to know about Good Child and Good Child Transitional?
That we love everyone. We teach everyone. Our center is not just a center that wants to watch your child. We're teaching them how. We're supporting their social and emotional, and we're also teaching them how to be themselves, be unique, but also love everybody else. Come see us. We're a unique center. Kindergarten Camp.
Kindergarten Camp.
Watch that movie.
I watched that movie so many times. I think it's hilarious. And you are literally like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Whenever I see you in that space, you have such a big presence. I think as a personality, Bill, you are a huge, you got a huge personality. And
Thank you.
I am privileged to know you and to have you in this space. And I do want to use your voice
Absolutely.
to lift up this issue, because I think it's an issue we have to push back on.
I
So
agree.
thank you all for listening to this conversation. We'll have
Thank you.
And have a good one.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You are listening to Inside Voices on